Today, I'm going to tell you the one boundary that can drive a narcissistic person absolutely mad. And before we start, I need to just say something that's very, very important. Now, if you're still with this person, whether it be a spouse, a family member, or a friend, and they've ever been threatening or aggressive, I want you to be very careful. Don't test this just to prove a point. Your safety comes first at all times. But you've probably already accidentally used this boundary at some point before. Maybe during an argument, or at some point when you were explaining yourself, it just slipped out. Maybe they accused you of something ridiculous, and for once, you didn't defend yourself. Maybe you simply walked away. And strangely, instead of calming down, they actually became more agitated, more frustrated. They might have said something like, "Don't you walk away from me," or "I'm still talking to you, we're not finished here." Or as you left, they followed you into another room and suddenly brought up something that apparently you did 6 months ago, 6 years ago. If that sounds familiar, then you're already getting close to what this boundary actually is. Because here's what I want you to understand. Some people don't argue to reach a resolution. They argue until they get the reaction that they need from you. And that reaction, it often doesn't matter what it is. It can be your anger, your tears, your apology, and especially your apology if they have done something wrong and they want you to apologize. They want your explanation or your reassurance. They just need you to participate. So what I want you to do is grab a pen and paper, because here's the boundary that I want you to write down. I will talk to you about this when we can speak respectfully. If you continue speaking to me like this, I'm ending the conversation. And that is it. But here's where the power actually comes from. Because saying it is one thing, but you have to follow through. So don't shout it when you say it. You don't repeat it to them 15 times. You don't spend 10 minutes explaining why you're entitled to have that boundary. Okay? And most importantly, you need to believe it. Okay? If the behavior continues, you actually will end the conversation, because there's a huge difference between setting a rule and a boundary. So, for example, saying "you're not allowed to shout at me" is saying a rule. That's telling someone else what they must or mustn't do. But if you shout at me, I will leave this conversation. That's deciding what you will do, and that's a boundary. And that distinction changes everything, because suddenly they can still choose their behavior, obviously. They just can't choose how you're going to participate. And for somebody who is used to pulling you into circular arguments, forcing you to defend yourself, provoking reactions, or keeping you emotionally engaged until you eventually give in, well, that can feel like an enormous loss of control. You're no longer trying to win the argument. You're refusing to play their game. And that's why you need to be very, very careful when you do this. Because if someone becomes intimidating, threatening, blocks you from leaving, or you're frightened of what they might do, prioritize getting yourself somewhere safe rather than trying to enforce a boundary in their moment. Now, if you're dealing with a narcissistic abuse or you're trying to heal after it, I have a private community. It's called Survive and Thrive. It's full of people who understand what you're experiencing. There are tools to help you heal, people you can speak to openly with it. You also have direct access to talk to me inside the community in the chat section if you feel like you want to. Now, if that is something that you feel like you need right now, then I would love you to join us, and I'll leave the link below in the description. One thing I want to say before you go, so grab that pen and paper again, because I want you to write down this one question. And you don't have to answer it. You don't have to answer it for me. Answer it for yourself. If you're comfortable, then obviously put your answer in the comments. I'd love to read it, but that's only if you're comfortable. Okay? So here it is. If saying no could not make them angry, disappoint them, or make them leave, what would I finally stop saying yes to? Okay? Really think about that. Okay? Because your answer might tell you more about your relationship than another 1,000 questions about whether they're a narcissist or what you should be doing. And remember this, peace that only exists when you abandon yourself isn't peace. It's just compliance. The right people in your life may not always like your boundaries, but they won't require you to have none in order to love you. Okay? Until next time, take care.